Welcome, everyone, to the Cardano Effect Podcast, episode 26. The purpose of this podcast is to take high-level developer information and projects that are occurring within the Cardano space and break them down into bite-sized, consumable pieces of information for everyday use. I'm your host, Philippe, and let's get this podcast started. We're here at the Miami Convention Center in Miami Beach, Florida. It's sunny outside. It's hot. South Beach is around the corner. This whole convention center is jam-packed with people. It's Miami. It's beautiful. The birds are chirping outside. It's beautiful. If you're not here, you should have been here. Maybe next year. I want to let you know that the entire IOHK team is here. The Emergo team is here. Cardano Foundation is here. Community members are here. Cardano enthusiasts, Cardano investors, onlookers are here. Exhibitors are here. There are really a lot of people here. Charles is here, of course. He gave a riveting talk earlier today. And I'm joined today. Unfortunately, Rick is not here. Rick, we miss you. He'll watch this later. But I'm joined today by a very special person. His name is Marcus, and he works on the front-end development for Daedalus. So everyone that has their ADA on exchange, they need to move it to Daedalus. This is the guy behind this project. So, Marcus, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you. So he's kind of like our co-host today. And I've been trying to get him on. He's going to have his full feature episode because we really need to get into depth of what Daedalus is doing and the power of what's going on behind the scenes.
And we'll do it.
Yes, definitely. So I guess we can keep this really light. What are your thoughts? What are some of your thoughts? What are some of your reactions of what's going on today?
So I think for me, this isn't the first day. I've been down here since Monday, and it's actually the first time I've met my teammates in person. So that's been pretty incredible. It's not often that you work and talk to people online for an entire year and get to know them and then realize that you've actually never met them in person. And when you finally do, it's quite unique. I've never had that experience before.
Oh, definitely. And IOHK has like 200 employees, if I'm not correct. So yep. All of you have. It's different to talk to someone on Slack than to see an actual physical human being, and now you can build that connection. Does your team feel stronger after this summit?
I definitely think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of team building activities did they have for you guys, if any?
So the first full day here, we went out to the beach, and we had some drinks, snacks. There was some volleyball, music, and a lot of sunburns.
A lot of sunburns. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about what kind of sunburns people were having?
Ladies and gents. So to give you an idea of the depth of these sunburns, I stepped into the elevator at the hotel and I saw one of the engineers holding himself up against the handrail, limping, and I thought at first that maybe he was injured, and then he was kind of wincing, and I asked him what's wrong, and he said that it's just a sunburn. Oh. But just a sunburn in this case is, this isn't your normal sunburn. This is someone from England whose skin probably hasn't seen the sun in a while, and it really saw it that day.
It's not a game. It's not a game out here. It's really hot. It's really hot. Even me, I've made some mistakes before. Even if you have a little melanin in your skin, you still can get burned in this South Florida heat. So
absolutely. And I decided this week that when pants were made, it wasn't for Miami. No, you can't do that here.
No.
We're indoors with the air conditioning right now, but outside it's torture.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's against the code. I saw some pictures on Instagram of people playing at Top Golf. I don't know what that establishment is, but did you go?
I didn't.
Okay.
It's basically like a driving range.
Okay.
And you stand up on a platform and hit balls out, and that was one of the team building activities.
Okay.
And then also the team had the option to go down to the Everglades and ride on those boats with fans
The airboats, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And see like some wildlife, birds, alligators.
Yes, that's nice. That's
Yep.
nice. That's definitely nice. So when you guys were playing volleyball, did anything surprise you? Was like Charles spiking it, or did he have a 40-inch vertical? Was there anything that should shock us about the developers and their capabilities?
I would say I was surprised by the surprisingly good taste in music on the beach.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Charles made a few song requests. He was involved.
Okay. Okay.
You know.
Okay.
You
Nice.
could call him DJ Charles, but
DJ Charles.
that's up to you.
Okay. That's awesome. So now we're at the summit. It's Wednesday. We're wrapping up the Wednesday. Like I said before, it was a little difficult to get full feature interviews with people because people are going back and forth, and believe it or not, the docket is full. So we were just running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So are there any talks today that really stuck out to you? What did you learn today that you're happy with, or?
So I was happy to see the crowd's reaction to the staking UI. I think that it really got them excited, and it's probably the first time they've seen, tangibly what staking will look like and how that will work for them.
Yes. Yes, the staking UI was very impressive. I enjoyed it, and apparently they're going to have something a little bit more in depth tomorrow. But it's, like we were talking about for the longest, it's going to be kind of like a drag and drop feature in Daedalus. You're not going to have to be a computer scientist or have a background in computers in order to stake. You're going to be able to delegate to a staking pool relatively easily. So that's exciting.
And it's also impressive to kind of see the researchers give presentations on their research, because sometimes with the white papers, this is over 8 pounds of research.
Yes.
Which,
yes.
I can't say I've read all these.
Yes.
But after today, I do feel like I have a good overview of what's going on in that stack.
Yes. It was very informative,
and Philippe and I attended the Treasury and Liquid Democracy presentation.
Yes.
And what are your thoughts on that one?
I thought it was interesting. I didn't get everything that he was talking about, but it seems like it's going to be just like staking. It's going to be very competitive, and there are going to be people that you can elect within the community to represent your vote, or you can vote yourself. That's this whole idea of liquid democracy, so it works both ways. So you can be directly involved, or you can be indirectly involved. So I anticipate, we have a lot of very passionate people within the Cardano ecosystem, so I envision that there are going to be a lot of solutions to problems, but also a lot of conflicts, and conflicts will be resolved in a particular way. But it's really going to make the individual user have extreme power within this ecosystem. So no matter if you hold 1 ADA, 1,000 ADA, 10,000 ADA, a million ADA, you're really going to be able to vote and have your vote represented in the correct way.
Right, and the Treasury system's intention is to allow the ecosystem to continually undergo development after the Cardano roadmap is considered complete. Because even though the roadmap may be complete, there's always room for improvements and even expansions. And so those would take place in the form of proposals, development proposals, and those are funded through the Treasury. And the way the Treasury is funded, the way it collects money to pay for developments, is through transactions on the network and possibly donations. And some treasuries are funded through minting of new coins, but in Cardano that's not part of the protocol. the coins have already been minted in this case.
Okay. Did you walk away from the Treasury with any particular use case in mind of things that could happen in the future, of how Cardano could benefit by using this voting system and using funds from the Treasury?
Yeah, I think that it definitely offers the community another inlet to get more involved in the ecosystem, because these proposals, they only get approved, they only pass if the community votes them in. So it's up to each community member to decide how involved he or she wants to get with researching the proposals and deciding to vote for them, not vote for them, or delegate their vote to a delegate.
Okay.
And in the presentation, I think these delegates were called experts.
Yes.
So
yes.
if you consider yourself an expert on a specific topic, and if that topic relates to a proposal that's in the works, then you can essentially campaign for your opinion on the proposal. So you take a position as an expert, and you may defend that position through a podcast. It could be a blog article you write. It could be a personal website you keep. You could show your credentials, your background, previous work you've done on this topic, and essentially make clear your opinion. Where do you fall on the issue? And if people feel that you're sufficiently expert on the topic, then they can delegate their vote for your opinion.
Yes.
So essentially you'll vote on the side your opinion falls on as an expert, and if people also want to vote that side and feel you're an expert, they delegate to you. And then the expert or delegate is rewarded with ADA for being an expert and casting votes of the people delegating to him.
Yes. Yeah. And what I understood also is that for all the people that don't feel like they have a strong technical background, when the protocol opens up, the experts are not necessarily going to be the ones that have mastered Haskell. It may be for an improvement proposal that has nothing to do with the technical aspect of Cardano.
Exactly.
So experts, like you said, could be writing a blog, creating a YouTube channel, or hosting meetups, and just involved in everyday practices that may involve proposals or proposal funding.
Yeah. Proposals could be anything from how to spend money on marketing, business development, community development, and then of course the technical developments.
Definitely.
And there's probably more than that. But
Yes.
Those are the first ones that come to mind.
Yes. Very interesting.
And I'd also like to note that this is one of the research problems that is well known to currently be unsolved, both in the blockchain and crypto space, but also just from a theoretical standpoint. So I guess this would fall into the social sciences side of things, possibly government studies of some sort, but it's a real challenge, and I'm hopeful that this can be implemented in such a way that it solves it for the Cardano ecosystem at least.
I anticipate that there'll probably be some peer-reviewed papers released on these models, but like you said before, this is brand new territory. It hasn't been done before. Combining representative democracy with just regular democracy of people being able to cast their own ballots and doing it in an equitable fashion.
Right.
So on a blockchain, it's the first of its kind. So I think this is new waters, and I think it's probably going to be there are probably going to be some missteps, and things will probably have to be corrected over time. And not all the questions have been solved, as questions were being brought up in that session.
Definitely. And the presenter was straightforward with that fact as well.
Yes.
That a paper that he's drafted was submitted in, I believe, February of this year, and the results on that are unclear to me, but
yes,
we can keep up with that, and I'm probably going to look into it now.
Yeah, that's very good, very good, very good.
So what struck you as interesting today or exciting?
The most exciting thing was the staking UI and what I saw there, for sure. Charles gave a very riveting speech, and I've been hammering it over and over again on my YouTube channel. And he was basically talking about the MOUs in Africa, and I think that this is very important because Cardano has been in Ethiopia. Cardano has really been putting the legwork, the groundwork in, and actually putting employees in places, in foreign places, representing the people. And when it's time to create projects or solutions for these countries or for these people, who do you think they're going to call? They're not going to call random blockchain A because they haven't seen them. In order to be acclimated within a different culture or a different group of people and provide solutions, especially when it comes to monetary solutions, you really have to be one of the people. And I feel like IOHK and the Cardano project is one of the people.
Absolutely.
Represented through John O'Connor and the various other people. Lars and Paulina were there teaching a Haskell class.
Right. And what better way to get in touch with the community and become as much a part of it as possible as a foreign entity and foreigners in Africa.
Exactly.
Besides teaching.
Exactly.
I think that's honestly the best way to gain credibility and trust in any country is to
definitely
give back.
Oh yes, for sure. And I think there are a lot of projects in Africa that are being thrown IOHK's way, and it's just about figuring out what the best methods of their time, using their time and their resources are at this point. But it seems like the future is very bright.
I think one thing that struck me as well is we were listening to David Esser's presentation. He's the senior product manager of Cardano, and he was saying that enterprise companies, and I think this applies to governments in Africa as well, or companies in Africa, they're going to be hesitant to begin development on a blockchain product that is large scale because it could take years to develop. It could take 10 years, 5 years, could be 15 or 20 years. And they're going to choose a platform that will be around in 15 or 20 years.
Yes.
Because the amount of money and effort that goes into starting an enterprise-grade product is tremendous.
Yes.
And since this space is so young, it's hard to know which platforms will be around.
Yes.
But I think it's becoming increasingly clear that Cardano is one of those.
Yes. We're going to keep it fun because the music just came on, and I believe the platinum and silver members are enjoying drinks and whatever other festivities are happening. I've been trying to meet people here. So I saw Charles. I saw the infamous Jeremy Wood.
Indeed.
I want to get him in front of the camera, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I saw Ken Kodama. I saw Sebastian. I saw Keisha from Emergo. I saw Duncan, Nico, Alan. Everyone's here. Everyone is here. Everyone is here.
Also, Professor Philip Wadler.
Yes. And there are a lot of community members here. I was just speaking with Glenn over there. He's a pilot. And it's just amazing how many different stories and different trades that people are involved with. And they're all reconvening here. And people are driving from Nashville. I've heard some crazy stories.
All over the country.
Yes.
And one reoccurring thing I've heard from people today is, you wouldn't believe how many people I've got into ADA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're passionate, and they're making sure that their friends and family and their their network of people they care about are learning about it and becoming involved.
Yes. And I was also surprised that David Esser was actually talking about the investor, because many of the academics, they're not going to overtly speak about the investor of ADA. And he said something like, the price of ADA will increase as the utility of Cardano increases.
Right.
And the team believes that while they can't say it overtly, it's what's going to happen. And if you can just taste the atmosphere, smell the atmosphere that's going on here, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of investors, a lot of people. I mean, I've been through a lot of trade shows in my life and exhibitions, and this whole idea of like waiting for a product release, the excitement in the air, this is what I feel like here.
Right. And I feel that most conventions people attend are generally considered something they have to do.
Yes.
Not all the time, but in this case, everyone is super excited to be here.
Yes.
And it almost seems like they know that they're part of this community.
Yes.
There's no question. It's a shared experience, and people generally don't get this excited over just your typical business convention.
Yes.
You know, this is a community-owned thing, and it really shows.
I agree. What else did we need to talk about? Well, we're right opposite of CNBC Africa, a crypto trader, at Crypto Manrun. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure a lot of you know him.
CNBC Crypto Trader.
Yeah, they're literally right across. So that was interesting.
I mean, in terms of the market, that's the source of truth as far as I'm concerned.
But CNBC knows best. So, no.
Yep.
No, they've gotten a lot of wrong calls. You need to do your own due diligence when trading.
Right. Crypto trader's probably not your first stop in due diligence.
Yes, definitely not.
Probably not your first stop.
But they do have a nice booth and some nice chairs. I don't know who. It can't be from. This is definitely not profits from their trading. It's probably profits from CNBC, the channel.
Oh,
that's been
absolutely. That's obvious. I do appreciate the fact that they are long on Cardano.
Yes.
As I share that in common with them.
Yes, definitely.
That's one thing they got right.
Yes.
One thing they got right.
We also have some Cardano Effect stickers here, and we have a custom printed moon ball with the ADA logo on there, stress ball, and Charles got one. So
let me show you how to use that.
Yeah. So
please don't go down. Don't go down.
So these are these legendary stress balls. I'm surprised that not all of them were taken, but I'm guessing a lot more people will come to the booth tomorrow. There were actually a lot of people here, and a lot of community members were approaching me. It's really incredible.
This guy is famous. I'm not even kidding. I'm really not. If I were to rank the famous here, I was going to say rich and famous, but you know, we'll leave that for 5 years from now for you. But as far as the famous go, Charles takes the number one spot without a doubt.
Oh, for sure.
I have never in my life seen so many people vying to talk to that man. And it's out of good intentions for sure.
Oh, for sure.
But man, that would drive me nuts.
Oh my, you don't understand. Like, most of you, if not all of you, would melt under the pressure that Charles is in. He can't walk 50 feet without
someone
everyone
calling his name. Charles.
Yes.
Charles.
It's almost...
And he talks to everyone.
He talks to everyone. Sign posters, takes photos. And you could tell he's tired because he gave a speech. He's walking, going to meetings. So for all the people that love to hate on Charles, you need to understand that you probably couldn't do what he's doing. It's just...
And you wouldn't want to.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to. It's nonstop, 24/7. So,
Well, that's the number one spot. And then number two, I wish I was exaggerating, but honestly, I'm not. He's talked with so many people that have recognized him from the podcast here and his own YouTube endeavors, and needless to say, he's loved by the community.
I appreciate that love. I really do. It makes me feel great. It really does. It really does. I enjoy speaking with everyone, and it's good to get out of the house and see some people face to face. It's, YouTube, you just don't understand like who is watching your videos and who's interacting with you, but to see it in person, it's humbling, and I really appreciate it. So,
did you say you were considering a career in politics?
no.
Oh
No.
Where did I get that? Maybe it just seems so natural. No, I know you're not a political guy, and
I might turn into a political guy when the Treasury system is implemented. It's politics in its own way. So
it is, but hopefully this one will be based on logic and knowledge in the right way.
Yes, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
And not manicured eyebrows and hair gel.
Yes. The system is broken.
Quick Google search.
We're having a good time here, as you can tell. So, I wanted to talk about the rock pie. What do you think about that?
Very interesting. It's you may have heard about it online already, but it is a way for people to create a staking node using a rock pie device. And there's a company here, Clio.1.
Clio.1, yes.
Yeah, Clio.1. That's actually the URL as well. CLIO.O.
O-N-E.
O-N-E.
Yes,
It's late.
yes.
It's late in
Yes,
the day.
it's late. It is late.
It's
It is
late. And so they gave a presentation here where they show 3 rock pie devices, which are about this big, and they cost about $100 each to make by hand.
Yes.
I'll add. And you can deploy a staking node on this device, and it consumes 5 watts of power
Yes.
to run.
Yes.
And you could really set this up anywhere with electricity and a Wi-Fi connection.
Yes, you could. Yes,
So
you could.
that could be in your own home. It could be in your company where you work. It could be hidden somewhere in a little corner in this convention center, getting a little free Wi-Fi and electricity. Just saying. Then they also showed a demo where they powered one of the rock pies using a solar panel.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So in places where electricity is limited, this is a way to power your staking node.
Yes.
Using the sun.
Yes. Yep. And the whole system with the solar panels, they said, cost a few $100,
$300, I
Yes.
believe. Yeah.
Yes, which is relatively accessible for most people. Not everyone, but even if you're in remote areas, maybe a group of people could pitch in and create and purchase a device, build it, and stake for their organization or
Right.
So it's very nice.
Yeah, I definitely see some customization opportunities with these rock pie devices, because the gentleman presenting their MVP, they were saying that they made the encasing on the device just out of some metal, some black metal painted black, and you could essentially make the case out of anything. You could 3D print one and paint it, or etch logos into it, and sharing those with the community might be a fun way to get creative and also support the network.
Yes, I agree. I think that the devices are low cost. They don't utilize a lot of electricity, which is wonderful. It's all about decreasing the barrier to entry to get involved with the system,
Right.
and Cardano is all about that. So
It's also interesting. It shows the difference in resource consumption between proof of work as we know it today and proof of stake with Ouroboros.
yes. And I don't care what any of the people say that are denying climate change, but Bitcoin proof of work is not energy efficient whatsoever. It doesn't need to be done. It's excess energy for nothing.
Agreed.
And, when there are better solutions out there, that's why I say for nothing. Obviously, it's not for nothing, but.
Well, yeah, it's all it is just running an algorithm,
Yes.
right? And that algorithm is arbitrarily written to consume mass amounts of energy.
Yes, exactly.
You know, as
exactly.
the difficulty increases, so does energy consumption.
Exactly.
And as more people are competing with their miners.
Yes. And you remember, I want to give you the biggest Bitcoin maximalist. There's a direct variable equation that you can set up. The number of Bitcoin that they hold in their wallet directly is proportional to the amount they shill Bitcoin and ignore its energy usage. So you need to remember that. The bigger wallet they have, the more lies they're going to spread about, what about the monetary system? That's not a good argument whatsoever.
So you're implying that they might be promoting Bitcoin because they have some.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Shout out to Ty Lopez. Don't know what else to say.
Knowledge. We're just having fun. I know there are going to be some people hating in the comments. Oh, you need to take this more seriously.
That's for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's for tomorrow. So we're going to have some people on the interview. We're going to have Charles is supposed to stop by tomorrow. Hopefully we can get him. I wouldn't be mad if we don't get him because he's really busy. And we're going to have the gig economy guys as well. They're right across. They're building a DApp on top of Cardano, which is wonderful. Quentin is walking by. He's Cardano Podcast Français. So, si tu parles français, tu peux regarder cette chaîne. C'est bon. And I'm going to put the link down below. And so this is Marcus Herney, and he is the front-end developer for the Daedalus team. And we'll see more of you tomorrow. You want to wrap it up, or you have anything to say?
Let's see. A light bulb in a home consumes more energy than a rock pie in a single day.
Leave it at that. So, thank you, everyone. And the second half of the video will come soon. I'm going to be editing everything. But it was great to meet everyone. And hopefully if I have some ADA stress balls left over, maybe I'll send some to some community viewers. So, okay. Well, thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
So how was your experience today, guys?
It was great. I enjoyed myself. I thought the talks were good. I thought Charles's presentation was very good. They did the presentation on the rock pie, which was very, very good, very interesting. So it's all about bringing the power of a Cardano node down to a little small tiny device that costs no more than $100. And apparently with the solar panel it costs around $300.
Yeah.
So we're all about providing solutions to the unbanked and the populations in Africa.
Yeah.
So I mean it's getting more and more feasible for people to get in the system.
Alternative, yeah.
And then they also showed some Daedalus UI and showed what the staking pool delegation would look like within Daedalus. So I think it was a pretty successful day. And we also went to the Treasury session. So
How was the Treasury session?
Treasury session was very interesting.
Yes.
I noticed that it wasn't one of the more popular presentations in terms of the number of people who showed up.
Yes.
But personally, I find the topic really interesting because it is currently an unsolved piece of research, not only in blockchain and crypto, but also in social sciences and government theory, essentially. So if Cardano were able to implement a system that does work for the ecosystem, I think it would be honestly one of the first, if not the first, real life use cases of a theory applied to a unique real system, a real life system.
Yes,
You know, this is a treasury system in combination with liquid democracy. So it's really, it's more than just a voting system. It's also the monetary aspect of the treasury. So
yes.
this is new territory.
Oh, of course, definitely.
It would be it would have been a great conference, but there was so much conference in parallel, so you have to choose where you wanted to go.
Yes.
And that's why I was not in the conference.
Yes. Yes, the schedule's packed.
Yeah.
I mean,
you have to choose.
yes.
You can't go to every one of them because
No.
they have 4 separate rooms.
Yes, and they're happening
the talks start to
concurrently.
overlap after about noon.
Yes, yes,
After
yes.
noon they overlap.
Yes.
Can you just say hello to the audience?
Did you say hello to the audience for us?
Sure.
We're on the Cardano podcast Français.
Right.
So
Yes,
for all the French-speaking.
I'm afraid my French is terrible.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm terribly sorry.
What can you say in French?
No, I don't want to embarrass myself.
Nobody's
I already
watching.
said bon appetit, and it sounded like a Southern American saying it.
What is it? Je ne parle pas de français.
Oh, that's good.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's
Just
good.
bonjour.
Bonjour.
Right, that's
And I can bouffe. I try the Gallic shrug. But no, I shouldn't insult everybody.
But wait, yo,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We enjoyed your talk today.
Oh,
Yeah.
good,
Yes,
good,
yes,
good.
it was very good.
I tried to make things comprehensible.
Yes.
Because not everybody understands the hard stuff.
Also charismatic.
Yeah.
I found
You're too nice.
in particular one part funny.
Yeah.
Duncan
Yeah.
was saying if the issues that we're solving at IOHK don't keep you up at night, then you probably don't understand them.
Yes.
And that means I don't understand them because I sleep 8 hours a night.
No, that's true. And for some who are really going deep into the technology, you never go as deep as this guy. So
Well, there's a whole team behind me, right? It's not just me, right? I'm just the front guy.
yeah.
But there's a whole team who are, really doing all the hard technical stuff. And yeah, there's the real mathematics, there's the real, all the stuff we showed on the slides is like, it's a little flavor, but it's proper mathematics, set theory. And, we've done internal reviews where we go through the whole stuff and explain it to everybody and review it and say, is that really what we mean? Is that what we want? It's not just a set of rules, but is it the rules that we want, what our real intention is?
And that's really amazing because when you watch your presentation, you see that it's clear. You can make a mistake because you go from the mathematics, the formula. You go for
Yes and no.
No.
Right. So once we've decided what we want, we can establish that we've not made a mistake against what we want. But establishing what we want, establishing our intention, that itself is hard. Like how do you know that what you've written down is what you really want? And that's why it's so important that we do this formal approach in a way that's comprehensible to people.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So Charles can understand our formal mathematical description, right? And Agalos and the other researchers, and we can say, not only is that a self-consistent piece of mathematics, which I can check or any mathematician can check, but it's the piece of mathematics that we actually want, that it describes the system that we intend, right? So, I can have a team that can check that, given what we want, that's what we've implemented, but what is it that we wanted?
Yeah.
And that bit requires real understanding.
But the formal methods help you to.
The formal methods get you from here to there
Yeah.
without making a mistake.
Yeah, wait,
but you
yeah.
can make a mistake at the level of the specification.
Yeah, of course.
Which is why it's so important that we try to make our specifications understandable, comprehensible to people, concise, so that you can actually fit it in your head, so that many people can fit it in their heads.
Yeah.
So that Charles can read it and say, Charles is a mathematician, but he's not, the same kind of computer scientist that me and the rest of the team are. But he can read those rules and say, yes, I understand that, and yes, that is what I mean. That is what I want.
Okay.
So that we can connect what Charles wants through to what our code does. But that specification part is really important, and that's why we've put so much effort into it, and that's why we've published it. Published all our specifications for everybody to read, for them to see, what is our intention, and for them to go, maybe you've made a mistake, and they can tell us, and then we can just discuss it. Because it's in set theory is a very common mathematical. Everyone who does undergraduate mathematics, understands set theory and logic and this kind of notation. So that's why we've deliberately tried to make it a very accessible, at least, accessible to kind of the mathematical sort of people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How closely do you communicate with the formal methods team, like Jared and Philip?
We're constantly.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, Philip and I work very, very closely together.
Okay.
And we're working with that rest of that formal methods team all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So like Jared and Damien and all the rest of them and I and Philip are talking all the time. It's like, well, what do we want here? What do we mean here? How do we turn that into a formal description? Yeah.
I have a question for Duncan. You were speaking about how establishing what you want can sometimes be the most difficult part.
Yes.
And I see that
being precise about what you want.
Being precise. So if you take it to a more generalized level, the end goal of the product is to solve real world problems. So as a product that has never been created before, how does that tie into the low level work that you're doing? Does that make it more difficult, or does that seem like a background issue that is too generalized and you don't actually touch that sort of thing?
There's quite a few sort of stages of translation between what is useful to the end user through to, what do you want the system to do? And I guess a lot of that actually comes from Charles, right? So Charles has an idea about what is it he wants to build and what is it that he believes that users really want. And he does quite a lot of all right, so I think I know what the users want, Charles says, and then he turns it into, Duncan, Philip, this is what I want. And then we, and with the other researchers, and we go through, and then we try to write down what we believe Charles has said in this formal way, and then we present it back to him and say, Charles, is this what you meant? And he says, yes, no, that bit needs to be slightly different.
Okay.
Yes, no, tweak, until we're happy with it. And those specifications are what we've published on the blog the day before the conference.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm not a product guy. I'm not I'm not I don't do the market analysis of what is it that people really want. I think that's too much to have in one person. But it's a group of people and a few stages of translation to get from what is it that users really want, what is it that's going to be valuable, into, how do we formalize that? How do we turn that into a precise description of our intention? Right. And then, there's a sort of more mechanical, hard, technically, but more mechanical process to get through from, all right, now we've captured our intention formally, precisely, concisely, through to the code does, what our intention, we have evidence that connects our code with our intention.
After a formal specification is created, do you create a proof and test the proof using Haskell, or can it also be done using Rust?
Oh, it can be done for Rust. Yeah. So there's nothing that's really special about Haskell in this context. So we agree what our formal specification is, and we go through rounds of review internally, and then we go through rounds of review with Charles and Aglos and other researchers. And once we say, these are the specifications we want, in parallel, we've been developing the executable specification, which matches up with that. And we can check. We don't need Charles to check that. We can check that those two match up against each other. We need Charles to check our intention. That, but once we've got to that, then the executable specification, we can check that those are equivalent. And then we can use that executable specification both to check our Haskell implementation, but we can also use it to check any other implementation. Right? Okay. Because we have generators that generate random, systematically random, arbitrary example chains, ledgers, and we use that as an input to compare any implementation against the executable specification. Now, of course, we've designed that to be most, it's easier to do in Haskell because both of those implementations are in Haskell. But there's nothing that stops any third party that wants to create their own implementation of Cardano. They can use our generators and our executable specifications as a reference test oracle to check their implementation is right, and we can do that for the Rust implementation too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And here's just one question I'm personally curious about, but the listeners might also want to know. So when you say that something, not you in particular, but at the conference we've heard a lot about formal specifications being as close to proof as we can come before creating a product and feeling confident that it will behave as described in the specification. So, for instance, how would you represent something like a string in math? How does that bridge get crossed? Because when you have a programming language, you have different.
A string is a sequence of characters.
And so how would you represent that in?
The notion of a sequence is a perfectly reasonable mathematical object.
Okay.
So you can represent strings in mathematics very straightforwardly.
Okay.
Yeah. I would just pick you up on one thing. I mean, you said that that testing is the best thing you can. Well, it's not the best thing you can achieve. We can achieve one level higher. We can go to full formal mathematical proof, and we have not done that yet for everything, but we are working on that for certain bits. Right. So for the Shelley implementation, we are relying on testing against our specification, but that's not the end of our ambition. We can go to closer to the gold standard of full formal mathematical proof, and we have done that already in a couple little areas, and there's others that are in progress. So we have done that in certain aspects of the Plutus core implementation. We have proofs in the Agda programming language / theorem prover, and we are working on other proofs for other parts of the system, but they're not going to be ready yet for Shelley. So Shelley relies, the evidence that we have for assurance in Shelley is testing evidence, but over time we can do more and more and higher levels of quality of assurance, and we have that ambition. So testing is not the end of the story, but it's the easiest one to get started with. So that's why we're doing that first.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good questions, Marcus.
And I have one more question. Is it possible to create a formal spec for a program that is written in something like JavaScript?
Yes, because the specification is independent of the language, but it's much, much harder to connect the JavaScript implementation against that formal specification.
And why is that?
Because JavaScript has a semantics which had to be reverse engineered, right? So JavaScript was written as a thing, and then people tried to describe it mathematically. So JavaScript was not designed to have a simple formal specification, whereas languages like Haskell or Agda or proper theorem provers like Coq or like Isabelle, were designed to have a mathematical semantics, and JavaScript was never designed to have a mathematical semantics. It was designed just to be a thing, an engineering artifact. And it was designed to be easy to use or whatever, but it was not designed to have a really clear, simple mathematical explanation. So it does have a mathematical explanation, but it's about this big. Whereas the mathematical specification of mathematical languages is concise. Right? So
that's why Plutus can fit on a napkin.
Exactly, yeah. So Plutus is the result. So Plutus core is just taking something that's 30 years old from academia and that's already been really understood in research and saying, let's take that as our core language and use that as and then we write an interpreter for that. So it's already something which was distilled down to the simplest possible thing. Whereas, like JavaScript, Java, C, C++, all these mainstream languages were designed as kind of engineering things, but not as, they weren't, the design of the language is not optimized to give you a simple semantics, a simple mathematical semantics. Whereas Plutus core very straightforwardly was. Haskell, more so, but not as extremely as Plutus core. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Yeah. I think the most difficult part for me conceptually is my lack of understanding of the actual mathematical objects that represent aspects of the programming languages.
So the way to think about it is like this, right?
You explained a string as a sequence of numbers. Are these the bits that compose the string in memory?
No. What is a string abstractly It is a sequence, an ordered sequence of characters. And what is a character? You can represent it, well, let's say Unicode. They're just Unicode numbers. So, A is whatever it is, 43 or whatever it is. I can't remember.
If you have like a definition of what each character is in numbers, then you could create a set of rules to represent a string.
It's not even a set of rules. The notion of a sequence is already a perfectly well-defined mathematical thing. Just like the notion of a set is a set is an even simpler mathematical thing. A list or a sequence is a slightly more complicated mathematical concept, but not very much more. So you can say that mathematically a string is just a sequence of characters, and that's a perfectly reasonable abstract definition.
Okay.
So the way I would say about language semantics is that if you have a language where you optimize, you iterate the language design, looking at its formal semantics, you end up making a language which is simpler and simpler and simpler or rather the formal semantics of that language become simpler and simpler because that's what you're optimizing for. Whereas if you take a language which was designed without that sort of process, well, of course, your mathematical description is going to be very complex because you've not followed a process of trying to optimize for the simplicity of its formal semantics. So it's it's very obvious in some sense as to why languages which are designed to have a simple formal semantics have a simple formal semantics, and languages which never intended to have a simple formal semantics don't have a simple formal semantics. It's just a matter of how they were designed.
Right. And I think JavaScript just solved a specific problem.
Right.
Which is
and that's no criticism of the Netscape guys.
Yeah.
They were trying to solve a particular problem. They weren't trying to they were trying to do it quickly as well. I think where I would have more of a criticism is like the EVM. Right? So the EVM, I look at it as someone with a background in programming language design, and I say that system, the languages that compile into the EVM, they don't appear to have benefited at all from the last 30 years of programming language research. They're just doing a thing rather than saying, let's take all these great ideas and use that to inform the way that we design the language.
Which was clearly available at the time it was being implemented.
Yeah, and okay, you can't criticize the people who did it. They weren't necessarily programming language researchers. But one of the advantages that we have is that we know that you need all these different disciplines to be able to build a really good system. You need macroeconomics experts, you need programming language experts, you need game theory experts, you need cryptography experts. We know you need all those things, and so we try to gather all those people together to apply all those different disciplines to tackle the different aspects of the problem. Whereas, I don't want to beat up on the Ethereum guys, but they were trying to do something quickly with the people that they had. And then that's what they built.
And maybe we wouldn't exist as a company without their presidents.
Exactly.
Sure. You've got to do things the first time before you do things the second time or the third time. And that's the experience that Charles had, and that's the lesson that Charles drew, and so that's why he gathered together all this multidisciplinary team,
Right.
because he could see that it's a multidisciplinary problem.
The dream team, like he called it.
It certainly is. I feel as if I'm learning all the time, just by being part of the team and keeping up with the project. I work on the Daedalus UI, so I'm writing JavaScript all the time, and my interest in functional languages.
No criticism in the JavaScript.
No, I've become increasingly interested in learning more about functional languages because I increasingly see the benefits. And maybe a lot of the headaches I go through during my work could be alleviated in some way by using typed languages.
I would encourage everyone to watch the recording of the Ethiopian education talk that we had at the conference today, because that was describing how the course that we ran in Ethiopia, teaching Haskell, teaching Plutus, and the experience that the students there had. Because what you just said is, they felt that they got really a lot out of that. They had been using mainstream languages on their computer science degrees in Ethiopia, or in industry in Ethiopia, and doing functional programming with Haskell was like an eye-opening experience to them. As it was to me when I went to university. It's nothing about it being one country or another. It's just like being exposed to the ideas for the first time, and it's like, wow.
I've taken a couple Rust courses online just in my free time, and I can say that having done a few years of JavaScript and then learning Rust, Rust feels more like the way code was meant to be written. And I can't tell you why, it just feels way more natural.
Yeah. So Rust definitely picks up on ideas from computer science from the last 30 years. You know? It's an imperative language, but it really picks up on the type system ideas. So people say, oh, it's a bit more functional. No, Rust is not a functional language. It's a very much an imperative language. It's like C, but it does take ideas that came out of the functional programming community about type systems to make your programs more reliable and not have the kind of memory errors that C tends to have. So it's, Rust is a good language. It's a squarely imperative systems programming language, but it really does pick up on research ideas, well-used ideas now that have been demonstrated in practice in other areas, and applies them to system programming.
So what makes a language functional versus imperative?
How long have we got? This might take a little while.
I'm going to leave you the mic so you can tell as long as you want.
See, I knew JavaScript is an imperative language.
Yeah.
And when I was studying Rust, I thought I was studying functional programming.
So the key characteristic,
really
the key difference is this, right? So imperative programming says do this, do that, do the next thing, go back and do it again, right? It's about state transitions, changing mutable variables, and loops, and like imperative do this, do that. Whereas a functional style is more like a spreadsheet, right? So in a spreadsheet, forget about the fact that it's two-dimensional. Think about the fact that it is a set of mutually recursive equations. Each cell is an expression. It's an expression which may refer to other expressions. And in a spreadsheet, there's no notion of the order in which things are evaluated. They're simply evaluated in the right order to give the right answer. Right? So there's no sequencing of do this, do that, do the next thing. The spreadsheet figures out the right order to do the calculations in to produce the right answer. And that's what functional programming is like.
So is the program not executed based on the line order?
No.
It's not?
No. It's based on the order that you need to evaluate the answer, just like a spreadsheet.
So,
spreadsheets are not evaluated top down, left to right. They're evaluated in the right order, whatever that is. And which order that is depends on how you write your expressions in your spreadsheet. But that doesn't matter. That's not something you have to think about. The spreadsheet simply states what is the answer, what is the right value, what's the calculation that I want, and the system evaluates it, executes it correctly.
So is there not an entry point to the program?
There's a top level
would you
expression.
invoke a function and that's the entry point?
Yeah, so the top level of your program is the thing that you do to calculate the overall thing you want to do, which sometimes is a sequence of imperative effects, but it involves lots and lots of calculations of values. So a spreadsheet's a really good analogy.
And are they all nested together?
Ultimately, it's one big expression that calls other expressions that calls other expressions, like a spreadsheet. If you want to know the answer in one cell, it may depend on sort of everything else.
Yeah. Right. Okay. That makes sense.
But it's written as a text file, not as a two-dimensional grid. But technically speaking, it's a slightly strange analogy, but technically speaking, a spreadsheet is what we would call a zeroth order functional programming language. Zeroth order, whereas we write higher order functional programs. In a cell, you can only have a value. We can have functions as well, and functions of functions, and so it's much more powerful. And we don't just have numbers and dates and currency values as our types. We have sophisticated data types, but the fundamental notion is actually much more like a spreadsheet than it is like a do this, do that, do the next thing.
And a higher order function is basically f of g of x.
Higher order functions are functions that take other functions as inputs or return other functions as outputs. So where the values that you manipulate can themselves be functions. And that turns out to be much more useful than it might sound at first. It allows a whole other degree of abstraction. And the big thing about software engineering is abstraction and composition. You build big systems by composing small systems, and you make code reusable by abstracting over different details and then instantiating that in multiple different ways. That's how you get code reuse. So people think about polymorphism in OO languages. we have a different notion of polymorphism, but it's the same fundamental idea, which is it allows you to get code reuse by using the same code many times in many different contexts.
And this saves on many developer hours and the pain of rewriting it as a developer. You know, I can say that's painful.
Code reuse, has the advantages that code reuse has, and it's very, very important.
Right.
And we just do it in a slightly different way.
Well,
Thank you, Duncan. Thank you, Duncan.
I kind of took that on a train ride.
We kept you for longer than we
That's
anticipated.
all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Nice guy.
Nice to talk to you.
Merci à tout le monde. Au revoir. Okay. So welcome everyone. I'm here with a very special community member. His name is Vasil. If you have seen him on Twitter, he is very active within the Cardano community. He has done a lot for the community. He has done a lot at the summit. He is constantly an inspiring and positive voice for the community. Can you tell us more about yourself? Welcome to the Cardano Effect podcast. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Philip. Actually, I could say that this IOHK summit is something which will have a ripple effect for many weeks and months, and it's not finished yet.
Yes.
So we expect some announcement from Charles.
Yes.
But one of the announcements was done already yesterday about Atala.
Yes.
And it's quite important.
Yes.
And today I have heard about a new improvement in Plutus platform.
Yes.
Which is very important.
Yes.
So altogether, I could say that the things are going quite positive.
Oh yes.
This transition started. The transition is 3 days and nights ahead. In front, I think I saw certain countdown.
Yes.
So this activation of the initial process of.
Yes. The summit is still not over, so we may hear something by the end of the day.
Yeah.
The project Atala. Can you talk about what happened yesterday outside of the summit?
Yesterday outside, I assisted Charles in setting free the butterflies.
Yes.
And I was very pleasantly surprised how deep is the metaphor of the name of Atala.
Yes.
And also this spontaneous maybe act of Charles to set free these butterflies.
Yes.
But those butterflies in this urban environment, and it was also a little bit windy, so some of them they were not quite able without human assistance to set them free.
Yes.
So my role was to assist to Charles to set them free without any incidents.
Yes.
And I was very happy to do it because in 2 cases I was involved in taking care for 2 couples, which actually were making sex in the meantime.
Oh my goodness.
And then in the first time, the first couple managed to fly away together. And then the second couple, they separated in the air, but they landed safe.
Okay.
Both the cases, I was happy. And you see, we could say that not people, we are intelligent beings, but also there are quite intelligent insects also.
Oh, yes.
Living things, living creatures.
Yes.
So, by the way, this reminds me about certain thing which I will explain to you about artificial intelligence and how this term occasionally was translated in Bulgarian language probably 30 years ago. And they translated, I will translate in English, they translated like artificial intellect.
Okay.
Which is quite limiting.
Okay.
But this is, this is evidence that certain 2-legged creatures without feeder, human beings, are not always so intelligent.
Yes.
But actually, at the end of when we set the free all of the butterflies yesterday, Charles gave me this box
Yes.
and said, "This for you." And I wondered what kind of metaphor is it. This.
Okay.
And then it came to my mind that I promoted a few times in Twitter and to Charles personally
Okay.
the concept of Cardano for sustainable development.
Okay.
Then, yes, and also in particular because I have been growing, planting ginkgo trees, so thousands of them.
You are the legend behind that
Yes, so it came to my mind that possibly in Africa and in the other countries, I could offer to the community and to IOHK also a certain good practice I developed in the last 15 years. And the name of this practice is, let's scientifically said, is ex situ conservation of endangered plant species.
Ex situ of endangered.
And I will clarify. Ginkgo biloba is endangered plant species.
Okay.
Metasequoia glyptus trubulis, the other one I'm taking care, is also endangered plant species. There is a such organization called International Union for Conservation of Nature, UCN, and they have a red list. In this red list, the endangered species are listed, and the low level of endangered species is called vulnerable. Then there is endangered, and then critically endangered, and then extinct. So ginkgo and the metasequoia and also Sequoia sempervirens,
Okay.
they are endangered.
Okay.
And referring back to Cardano, I remember that on the first anniversary of Cardano, I decided to plant a ginkgo tree specially dedicated to Cardano project.
Okay.
And then this, I think, inspired many community members about this.
Can you tell us more about the ginkgo tree? Isn't it the tree that produces a nut for people take it for brain health? Is that
Yes,
true?
but I could offer you to eat something because I have here in the box. I could offer to you. So you could break it.
Break
It's
it?
a nut and eat it.
Okay.
Like this.
Okay.
And open it, crack it down, and then in Japan, in China and Korea, they boil it down or they make certain cooking of it. But the most, let's say, vital use for good health is eating in this raw.
Eating raw. Okay.
Yes, it's written in old medicine books in
Okay.
China that it supports the circulation of yang energy. Yang energy is considered in the yin-yang language of China about energy, about philosophy,
Okay.
and health living is male energy.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
but also
It's
yeah.
slightly. It has a consistency. It's soft and it's slightly bitter, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
Not bad. And when cooked, used not for medicinal use, but just for certain desserts and soups, and you could find in internet.
Okay.
This is quite delicious.
Okay.
But normally outside China, outside Japan and Korea, the people don't know about this use. People know about using the leaves to prepare tinctures and extracts for improving brain circulation and blood circulation.
Okay.
But this is very, very, very precious. Full with vitamins and phytohormones and active bio-ingredients.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
And you speak about sustainability. You're planting trees, and we know that Cardano is a proof-of-stake protocol, which is a lot more economically friendly or environmentally friendly than a proof-of-work protocol like Bitcoin that's using up natural resources at the rate is incredible. I don't know if you went to the Rock Pi performance or the Rock Pi presentation.
I didn't have time, but I have looked around before when Charles announced, so I know this is 5-6 watts
of energy. And this is probably what we need to be more sustainable and help protect the environment and not...
Absolutely. I could use the framework of SDG, which is Software Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay.
In 2015, a special document was signed in New York about software development goals with Horizon 2030.
Okay.
And they somehow, the researchers divided to 17 goals.
Okay.
And the number 13 especially, the 13, is about preserving and enriching biodiversity.
Okay.
And what I'm doing in the 15 years of my activities with ginkgo and other endangered species is as I preferably don't use clones on cultivars, but I start from seeds in order to that every new plant is with a new gene base, and it's something like improving or enriching the biodiversity.
Okay.
So when you collect seeds, start by collecting seeds, then you consciously use the seed and make them germinate. But then, in the case of ginkgo, in many cases, if you just leave it, it could not survive.
Okay.
So, important part of the good practice of ex situ conservation of endangered plant species is so-called human-assisted propagation. For 1, 2, or 3 years after the germination, you have the small plant in a protected sandbox environment, let's say at home, and then when it reached the size and let's say is being able to survive outside, you choose responsibly the place to plant it in the soil. And this is quite interesting because according to my experience, ginkgo biloba in the North Hemisphere successfully could live from Israel and Sicily north to Canada.
Really?
Yeah, and absolutely they are good environments also in Australia for it, and also in South America. In the old times, the archaeologists and plantologists, they find out in the records that many hundred, maybe 400 millions ago, 300 millions ago, ginkgo was spread on the pracontinental shelf from South Pole to North Pole. So this ex situ means outside the normal, let's say, range of inhabitants. Actually, if we make the time horizon broader, bigger, then it's always in situ because it was from pole to pole. So it's always home, you know.
Wow.
So it's quite interesting.
Wow.
Quite interesting. And when I see the slogan of Emurgo about global Cardano,
Yes.
then I refer back to global ginkgo dispersal from one pole to the other. So it's quite deep symbolic, you know.
And we're speaking about this, and I feel like there are so many parallels between what you're doing here and what Cardano is doing. How they're using the same practices to build a sustainable project, and whether that be planting trees or building a cryptocurrency.
Yes, and we connected them already because after planting this initial one ginkgo plant, then about realizing, thinking. What kind of endangered species I have to plant for Rust project? It came to my mind that Metasequoia is 2 times faster growing than ginkgo, and Rust project is growing very fast. So I planted separate Metasequoia tree, which is the Rust tree. Yes.
Wow.
Then it came to my mind what kind of tree I have to plant, especially for Emurgo.
Yes.
Then I remembered that I have a special cultivar which is from Japanese professor from Tokyo, special type of ginkgo. And when I came choose the place where to plant it, I found out that the middle school I graduated, they need and want to plant ginkgo. So I planted the Imurgu tree, special Tokyo cultivar Imurgu tree in the middle school I graduated in Plovdiv.
Wow.
And then Dionysus came for the first meetup of Cardano blockchain Plovdiv. I will refer back to this, how they connect. Next day after his presentation, which was very successful, and it was live streamed in Facebook, properly later available on Twitter.
Yes.
Together with Dionysus, we planted one meta-sequoia tree again for Cardano to encourage fast development of Cardano, and special tree dedicated to IOHK, which is Sequoia sempervirens, which is also endangered species from California, which is the tallest tree in the world.
Oh, wow.
So you see how they connect.
Yes.
And in the meantime, how to connect the trees. Being able to grow trees is quite useful when you decide to grow communities. So many people were quite surprised that our blockchain community in Plovdiv, which is the second biggest city of Bulgaria, less than 400,000 people, that already we have 221 members. And our first meetup was quite impressive, with around 50 people actively participating and many people looking at the live stream.
Yes.
So it seems that growing Ginkgo biloba and growing Cardano community,
They're happening simultaneously at the same.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Can you tell us? Let's switch to the meetups that you're hosting. So you have over 200 members that were showing up.
200 members, they become members. They wanted to become members.
Okay.
And physically present at the meetup, the first meetup, I counted 47.
Okay.
So roughly 50.
Okay.
But many of them, they looked at the live stream.
Okay.
Because
you were looking at the metrics for the live stream. So
yes. So it's difficult to say, but I mean, if you measure the average, let's say, way of things are going normally all over the globe now, this was exceptionally successful.
It seems like there's a lot of interest in Cardano in your area, in Europe in general, and
yes, and also I could say, Philip, that this is important that the community members who organize meetups, if they have good developed real communication skills, then they could easily communicate and then reach the broader audience and get it done. So having this in mind, how it happened in Plovdiv, I came to the following practice.
Okay.
Why not find the right guy in Berlin and make open a group in a meetup platform in Berlin, assign him the role of assistant organizer initially, and train him via video conference and other things, and support him. So we ended up with a meetup group in Berlin later, and for now, without any support still from the Cardano Foundation, we expect they will do it. Berlin, we have 29. And Saarbrücken, which is a very interesting university city with very good computer science university part. Already we have 18. And I'm preparing eventually Bucharest and also Malta.
Oh, wow.
And I'm talking about Bucharest. And I'm looking to Skopje and so on.
Oh.
So this is like meta level of pushing and showing how good communication skills could improve.
good.
So this is quite interesting. You know?
Oh, wow.
Because-
that's wonderful.
yeah.
That is wonderful because Cardano needs people like you. They need ambassadors. They need people that are creating these meetups in order to inform. The most important part now is the education. And there are a lot of people passionate about the project that just want to go speak with other passionate people about the project. And it's hard to do that in certain mediums. So these meetups are great. You see them face to face.
Yes.
You can have a
yes.
conversation. You can share some food and you can enjoy yourself.
Yes, and what I also consider important initially in this case, when we are talking about meters, my approach or the approach I consider important now is that for the first 1, 2, maybe 3 meetups every month, the important thing is to have quite powerful and well-educated guy from IOHK or from Imurgo, if maybe Cardano Foundation, in order to be able to, let's say, to educate a big number of participants
Yes.
with the presence of this authentic,
Yes.
let's say, representative.
Yes.
Because one thing is, let's say, if we are just making small circle to talk between us, but when we have somebody also who is from the
I
big three,
agree.
icon.
Yes. Yes.
So this is very important initially.
Yes.
After maybe 2 or 3 meetups, when the community would grow and many people inside the community could be able to sustain,
Yes.
then
Then you can move it. Yes.
interesting. You know, I didn't have time to communicate very much to anybody. I mean,
Yes.
I just filled one record in Google Drive in a certain like Excel table
Okay.
about 200 in Plovdiv, 90 something in Berlin,
Yeah.
90 in Saarbrücken, and just the name of assistant organizers.
Yeah.
But I didn't receive certain feedback. But what happened that the guy from Saarbrücken published in a Cardano forum about him.
Yeah.
Then Cardano, somebody from Cardano Foundation started to promote Saarbrücken. So Saarbrücken is already supported, promoted by Cardano channels.
And speaking about the Cardano Foundation,
Yeah.
they have leadership changes over the past year, and things are going to start improving, and they're going to be more involved with this meetup process in
Yes.
the future to help when you are doing these grassroots efforts, like what you're doing right now, and getting all these little communities.
Actually, now we have unique opportunity, and I suppose that at the end of the day today and the
Yes.
conference, they will do it.
Yes.
I will be absolutely happy to see Charles,
Yeah.
Nathan, and Ken together.
Yes.
And then this will be strong, very strong, powerful message
Yes.
to the community that the 3 big forces which are driving actually the Cardano project, they are going to interact more and more synergetically.
Yes, that's
This
the word.
is very
That's the word.
important.
That's the word. Yes.
Yes.
And
So this is I consider very important from my gardener's point of view.
Got it.
Yeah, let's say. I think you will agree. I mean,
I agree. So I think that the Cardano Foundation has a presentation at 4 or 5 today, towards the end. So it would be nice to see the 3 of them go there and show how strong we are as a community, and
Yes,
that
and-
we can depend on any branch for help in the community. If we're doing a meetup, maybe we need the foundation for this thing, or
Yes.
maybe we need IOHK for this.
Yes, because when the people are initially introduced,
Yes.
they have to receive a good understanding about how important is this triune synergetic
Yes.
interaction of these 3 forces.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Vasil, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining the Cardano Effect. It was a pleasure
Thank you very
having
much,
you.
Philip.
Do you have any last words for the Cardano Effect? Do you want to tell anyone that's maybe watching this from
Absolutely.
Europe and wants to join?
I will say just be present, relax, and act according to circumstances.
Okay.
Thank you.
Leave it at that.
Thank you.
That's a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. I have a very special guest joining me today. We are on the IOHK Summit floor. It is day 2, the final day. And our booths are right across of each other. And this guy, his name is Eddie Garcia, right?
Yes, sir.
And he represents a company called Gig. And they are trying to build a DApp on Cardano. So everyone is talking about mass adoption and what Cardano is going to be offering. Well, here we have a company that's trying to build a real-world solution and trying to build it on top of Cardano. So, Eddie, how are you doing today? How's the IOHK Summit? How's everything?
Great. Thank you so much, Philippe, for having me here. Very excited to be here at the IOHK Summit. When we found out that they were going to host it here in Miami, we got really excited because our parent company is based out of Miami. So we've been working on this project now for almost a year and a half, and from day one, our CTO had the vision that it had to be done in the Cardano network. So we've come a long way from doing our research and preparing our white paper and everything else that we've been working on, and now it's just great to be here and be sharing ideas and talking to the key players in the Cardano community. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. So can you tell us a little bit more about Gig? What is it? What do you guys do?
So Gig is a decentralized application for the gig economy. And we're not trying to go after the $1.5 trillion gig economy space. We're actually focusing on a specific niche market inside of the gig economy, which is the promotions and events industry. So our parent company is an experiential marketing company and a staffing company, and it's the staffing division we want to decentralize. So we're parting from the concept of some of the tools that we're currently using in the space, which is geolocation tracking system, reporting tools to collect data, to collect evidence of the event, pictures, summary reports, or any type of metrics that our clients want to collect to determine their return on investment, right, for each event. So, but we're trying to put all this on the blockchain now. So it's a big challenge. There's a lot of questions that we still need to answer, but we have our initial prototype is a smart contract for the escrow after the job is completed.
Okay.
And we have several proposed ideas on how we're going to do this, but the 3 key functions that we're going to focus on are geolocation and timestamps. Okay. Reporting tools for collecting evidence, and then the 3rd layer would be a reputation system, so the users can rate their interactions.
Okay. So a lot of people in the crypto community, they ask, does blockchain apply to every single situation?
Correct.
What does it look like for a traditional business day for you, and why would you need to move to blockchain? What does blockchain offer that you couldn't get done originally?
Correct. And that's a common question. So initially, the idea, we were trying to just build an application to be the Uber of brand ambassadors. That was the original idea, and we built a prototype on iOS with Florida International University, with FIU, the senior design class. We worked on it for about a year, and we got a working model, and we wanted to take it to the next level, and we went out and started looking for venture capital. And I ran into who now is my partner in crime with this project, who is the CTO of Gig. He was an early Bitcoin adopter. He was a huge Haskell enthusiast. I don't have a technical background. I'm more of the creative user experience that know the side of the business of the field that we're trying to reach. And but when he saw the project, he proposed to venture into this idea if we did it on the blockchain. For me, at the beginning, it was sort of mind blowing, and I was like, "Oh, you and your Bitcoin again? I don't get it." But little by little, I started realizing that this technology puts us really in the forefront of the space in terms of innovation and putting our marketing services. It's not everything inside of what we do from our parent company that we're trying to decentralize. Is just a small portion of a specific division that we work in, and that's why we're trying to focus on something very narrow, which is documenting the geolocation portion and being able to have that proof of location concept that I'm trying to accomplish.
Okay. And you also mentioned escrow services. So this is something that I would like you to elaborate on, because within Cardano, we've been hearing about Plutus, we've been hearing about Marlowe, and building these financial contracts, building these smart contracts to allow escrow to take place in a decentralized manner.
Correct.
What exactly are you looking to get out of this escrow services?
Right. So the way that it works is we do a job smart contract that has a specific set of rules that a freelancer would have to accomplish, right? And it would start with a check-in, geolocation and timestamp check-in. You say 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. They have to be within that specific area from those times. And then there's specific tasks that may need to be performed, such as uploading pictures or scanning the QR code or whatever that smart contract is set upon. And once you complete the job, then the escrow is released, and then they get paid for that job, right? So that's how it works. What we did is we published just recently a paper on publisher subscribe, and we did a little Plutus library on this subject, and we're excited to hear Sebastián on his March announcement regarding the Cardano community working on Plutus. So I don't have a technical background, like I said, but our technical team is right now on the hackathon and working on Plutus. So for me, it's really cool just to hear how they share ideas and everything that they're doing. So we're excited to contribute with our little bit of to what the project's doing overall. Yeah.
So you did mention Plutus, and Manuel Chakravarti was giving his talk earlier today, and he was basically talking about how you can put non-native tokens within Plutus. So are you going to be building your gig token in Plutus? Is that the end goal?
So we do have a native token for the platform that we call GET, the gig economy token.
Okay.
Right? Right now it's all based on ADA. But that's going to be an important tool to be able to use the platform.
Okay, I understand. And is there a draw to Plutus, or are you open to using other products that Cardano has to offer? For example, Marlowe, and using the Meadow program, and
our development team, they're all Haskell programmers.
Okay.
So they don't need to. They can work straight on Plutus, because Marlowe is more for people may not be so technical, and I from the way that I understand it, it's more to sort of write financial agreements and so forth. So, but we haven't really played around with Marlowe that I'm aware of as of yet internally. It's been all very focused on Plutus and really waiting for the testnet to come live. So.
Okay. Curious about where you got your Haskell developers. Where'd you find the talent?
So funny enough, so I'm based out of Ecuador. Well, I'm originally from Ecuador. I was born here in the States, but I was raised in Ecuador until I was like 15 years old. But anyways, my business partner, the CTO, he lives in Ecuador, and he was the one that had always that functional programming inclination, and from day one he knew that the day that he always said it, the day that they come up with a cryptocurrency or a blockchain that's based on Haskell, that was going to be the blockchain of choice.
Okay.
So when Cardano came along, from day one we knew that we're going to work on Cardano, and that's why we built the whole image around Gig. If you see the logo and everything, it's very influenced from the Cardano image, and the philosophy of IOHK and the Cardano project, where it's all open source and so forth. So. In terms of the software development team, we identified a software development company that specializes in Haskell that was right next to my partner's office in Quito, in Ecuador.
Okay.
And it's a company that's from here. So they're based from New York, but they just so happen to have a division in Ecuador. They've been training developers over there for, I think, for like the past 7 years, and they have a whole team of Haskell developers over there.
Okay.
So, and they're probably the only company in Latin America that specializes in Haskell. Wow. So we were very lucky to find that match. And I think that's our competitive advantage, that we are, from a business standpoint, our company, Go Local Promotions, our marketing agency that's behind the Gig project, we understand the freelancers in the marketing world space, and now we partnered up with a software company that specializes on the language that on what we're trying to work on. So I think that's probably one of the most important competitive advantages that we have. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
So when can we expect like an MVP from you guys? I know that smart contracts haven't officially released for Cardano yet, so
yeah,
that's a loaded question.
So we do have a tentative roadmap, and what's happened is that at this point, we're trying to figure out how we can. We're doing all this internally, and so we're trying to figure out how we can accommodate the resources to accomplish everything that we're trying to accomplish. So far, we have a centralized prototype on iOS that we can leverage in some way or form. We have a database of promoters nationwide, about 40,000 promoters that we currently have. And we're expecting to grow that. Hopefully by the end of the year we can double the amount of our the list of our database, and then slowly we would try to incorporate these pieces into an actual working product that we can present, but we don't have a set date.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that sounds good.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
and it's going to be key to the Shelly release, and then to figure out how we can incorporate everything that we have to the actual test set.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Are you yourself very interested in blockchain and cryptocurrency, or is it just your company? Do you have any? This is like a side personal question. Are you following the space?
So I had never really had an interest in technology to this level.
Okay.
I'm very passionate about music. I've always been more like an artistic and creative, and that's why I work in marketing.
Okay.
However, by now I can say that this whole field of blockchain technology is probably been the only other subject that I have been so passionate about since music.
Okay.
And I think I've put my guitar aside altogether in the past couple of years, just diving into this new technology space. So yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it, and yeah, excited to be here as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is wonderful to hear. Are there any highlights that you have from the IOHK Summit?
Oh yeah, well, there's been so many things. I think the biggest thing is just meeting, everyone in the community, and seeing like the different things that everyone's doing. That's probably been the biggest highlight. I've been seeing you for a while. I know your shows, so I see you guys all the time. So it's kind of cool to see you now in person.
That's awesome.
And then, I met Charles, and I met Jeremy, and I met, the people from the IOHK team, from Emurgo. So that alone has been very exciting. And then in terms of, the highlights and what's to come for the 2020 roadmap, that's also been very exciting. So a lot of things.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Where can people learn more about what you're doing, your company?
So on our website, there's a demo. It's getgig.org.
Okay.
We have I think a very explanatory animation video that shows what we're trying to accomplish. We have the prototype of the demo that it's live there, and we have the white paper Again, it's a working product, a white paper. We probably need to do about 20 more of those to be able to accomplish everything that we're trying to do. But I think it's a start. And with a lot of the projects that are working in the space, I think it's the way that it should be. One of the questions that I see come up a lot is like, oh, when is this going to be published? When is this going to be happening? And the common theme that I hear and from being here at the summit is that, hey, you know, it's going to take time.
Yes.
Right? And that's okay.
Yes.
Right? But we feel confident that we're working on the blockchain that we should be working on. So I guess that's all I can say for now.
And it's refreshing to see getgig.org, by the way. I'm going to be putting the link down in the description below. But it seems like you're conducting business outside of blockchain and you're trying to transition some of the elements of your already existing business into blockchain. So it's not like you're using blockchain as a crutch or any sort of means. You're trying to move to the next level. And the fact that existing businesses are trying to implement blockchain, this is what we need. It's not necessarily coming up with something so abstract that hasn't existed before, but it's about using traditional business models and seeing whether or not this can be viable on the blockchain.
Totally. And, you know, for us, it's you know, you ask me, what's your interest with blockchain? And by now, you know, I'm very passionate about the subject, but I have to give it to my partner, you know, who was the visionary. He was an early Bitcoin adopter, and the way he got involved was because he was trying to donate to WikiLeaks. and he couldn't, so he bought Bitcoin because it was what they recommended to do.
Yes.
And that was back in 2013, and he was like, hey, look, man, I bought this. I'm like, that's great, and we bought some.
Yes.
And then, the rest was history. So you know, it happened very organically because of more of an idealistic view. So, you know, a lot of people sometimes ask, well, what's the business model? What do you... So, and I guess my answer to that is not everything is really money. You know, everything that you do has to do with money. And I think, you know, in the sense of when you're working on cutting edge technology like this and you do something that actually works, and then if you get rewarded for it, then you should, you know, because so then you know, that's where we're hoping to go with this.
Yes.
And if it happens, great, and if it doesn't, hey, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Yes,
so that's how we feel.
And you're so early in that if this doesn't work, you can adapt, and it's not an end all.
Yeah, no. By now we keep learning as we you know continue to do research you know, every month and different opportunities. You know, one of the biggest things like with what we're building is that at the beginning it was all a peer-to-peer employer freelancer connection. But what we're seeing where the real business is going to be for the third parties interacting with this to users, because there's always going to be the need for an insurance provider, a consultancy, a third party to interact, right?
Yes.
So we already have the concept of having an arbiter for a dispute resolution, but in that sense, there's going to be a million opportunities for people to really interact with any type of job that's being created. So yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. So you heard it here first. We'd love to have you on maybe later in the year when these smart contract platforms deploy and we can see something. Maybe we can do some kind of live demo.
That'd be great to reconnect and show everyone what we're doing.
Definitely. People want to hear about this. People are all about what dApps are going to be built. This is a company right here. We're looking at a company right here. They have a very nice booth on the other side. I'll take some video of it and include it in the podcast.
Appreciate it.
It's really nice. I mean, it has recessed lighting and everything, so it's beautiful. It makes my booth look just, but it's good. It's good. This is Eddie Garcia. and he represents Gig. And if you have any questions, drop it down below. I'm going to include all his social media handles. And
Gig DApp.
Gig DApp, okay. And I'll make sure I get your information to
All
make
right.
sure I put everything there. But it was a pleasure speaking with
Likewise.
you. Do you have any last words for the viewers of the Cardano Effect?
For the Cardano Effect, no, great job. That's all I can say. This is my go-to platform for learning about the developments of Cardano. So, yeah, excited to be here.
Okay. Thank you so much, Eddie.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Okay.
Take care.
So hey everyone, so this is the Gig Economy booth. Like I was saying about the recessed lights here, they have a really nice booth. And we have Eddie and Sebastián over here. So he just won a prize at the hackathon, so he knows what he's doing.
Plutus
Yes, so
really proud of Sebastián. It's been one of our team leads in the research and development, so really excited.
I've been enjoying a lot playing around with Cardano technologies, with the Plutus playground. I really encourage everybody to try it out.
okay, that's awesome. So they have a little demo here that shows exactly what's going on. So I don't know how good this will look, but I'll include the link for the website below.
Definitely, it is public, so anybody could get in and play around. In order to get to there, you go to getgeek.org, and you will see here a link to the demo and also a white paper.
Okay.
So the demo is heavily inspired in the Plutus playground, which, as you can see here, you have the kind of like a similar interface where you can see the wallets, and you can see the blocks in the chain, and you can see the logs. Everything right now runs on top of the blockchain. It runs on the simulator. So far here, the interactions is mostly between an employer and freelancers. So an employer publishes a job description, and a freelancer applies to it. So for you that have been following up with the blockchain and the Plutus, you may see that first you need to subscribe to the ledger in order to be able to get some offers.
Subscribe to the job board.
Exactly, subscribe to the job board. The arbiter is the one that resolves disputes in the case the employer and the freelancer that they're not in an agreement.
So the arbiter in this situation would be your company. Am I correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
At the
Okay.
beginning, that's the idea.
Okay,
And
okay.
then eventually there will be incentives for arbiters to join the network and interact in this contracts.
Yeah, but only when it's dispute. As much as possible, we want to keep things like peer-to-peer, without that third-party interaction as an arbiter. So if the employer and the freelancer they're in agreement, everything should flow. Like the contract, the smart contract should unlock the funds.
Okay.
This is only for dispute resolution.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
only for dispute resolution.
Okay.
So just like a very, very basic interface, where you could, as an employer, you could see your ADA right now.
It says gets for the demo, but it's really just data that we're using for right now.
For demos
Okay.
purposes. So you post a job offer.
Okay.
As you can see here, the data doesn't change yet because the smart contract that locks the fund is only created after the freelancer applied to the job and the employer accepts the offer.
Okay.
So first the freelancer applies to the offer, and then here the employer starts the escrow. As you can see here, the amount of data gets deducted, right?
Okay.
That's because it creates the smart contract. So if we go back to the status, we could see here that there's the amount of data that was locked, and it is the type pay to script, which is a reference to a smart contract. So here we create a smart contract, which is pretty much a script with some validations, and when they fulfill, the funds get unlocked, get transferred to a different wallet. So in this case, for the purpose of the example, we can see that the arbiter has different actions. Let's say in this case there was some dispute, so the arbiter should be able to give back the funds to the employer or transfer those to the freelancer. So in this case, let's say that the arbiter decides to do for the freelancer. And as you can see, the motivator gets to the freelancer wallet. This is like the most complex workflow. Ideally, the employer and freelancer should be able to move funds directly. But this is just a raw prototype. It's heavily inspired in the Plutus playground. The source code is also open source. You can see that at the GitHub, Gig Economy token. There's listed the white paper repository and also a demo. So, yeah.
Okay. Wow. So we just saw a live demo of their product.
Yep.
This is there. You guys are hoping to become the first technically DApp on Cardano, and
Hopefully so.
Oh
Yes,
yes. It sounds like it. I haven't met a DApp yet, so
Okay.
and it's. I know the Traxia guys. We spoke with them, but I'm not sure. They don't have their. You guys are already coding in Plutus, so
Yeah.
it seems like you guys are going to be pretty quick to market as soon as it goes from testnet to mainnet.
Yeah,
So
we're playing around with the technologies that are available right now, which are the Plutus, the mock chain. Hopefully later on we will be able to play with the Daedalus and the testnet. When they become available. But we're trying to, as far as these tools are released, we're playing with those and push the boundaries to see how far we could get.
okay, and everyone can go to your website and check out the demo. You also have your white paper, which is very long,
Yep.
and like you were saying before, Eddie, you need like 20 white papers to accomplish everything that you're looking to accomplish.
Yes, sir.
But it looks very impressive. Great work.
Thank
I know
you.
this took
Appreciate
probably
it.
a lot of work, and it's definitely a nice team that you have here, and a beautiful booth, of course.
you. Thanks
so
for stopping by.
yes. Okay. Well, thank you.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank
Bye.
you. Take care.